can be.
We must be the first generation
to end extreme poverty.
The generation
most determined
to fight injustice
and inequalities.
The generation that saves the planet from climate change.
And this is how it will get done. The global goals.
a 15-year plan
For everyone, everywhere.
with no one left behind.
We will live in a world
Where nobody
Anywhere
lives in extreme poverty.
Where no one
goes hungry.
where no one wakes in the morning
Asking if there will be food today.
We will live in a world where no child has to die.
Diseases we know how to cure.
And where proper health care
is a lifelong right for us all.
We will live in a world where
everyone goes to school
and education gives us the knowledge
and skills
for a fulfilling life.
We will live in a world where all girls and all women have equal opportunities to thrive
and be powerful and safe.
We cannot succeed if afterwards
we will live in a world
where all people can get clean water
and proper toilets at home,
At school,
and at work.
We will live in a world where there is sustainable energy for everyone,
Heat, light, and power for the whole planet.
without destroying the planet.
We will live in a world where economies prosper.
and new wealth.
Lead to decent jobs
for everyone.
and we will live in a world where our industry
our infrastructure and our
Best innovations.
Are not just used to make money, but to make all our lives better.
We will live in a world
where prejudices and extremes of inequality
are defeated
Inside our countries,
And between different countries.
where people live in cities and communities
That are safe, progressive,
and support everyone who lives there.
where we replace
what we consume.
Planet where we put back what we take out of the earth.
We live in a world that is decisively rolling back the threat of climate change.
where we restore and protect the life in our oceans and seas.
restore
and protect
life on land.
The forests,
Animals,
the earth itself.
With peace between and inside countries.
where all governments are open.
And answer to us for what they do at home and abroad.
And the justice rules.
With everyone equal before the law.
where all countries and we their people,
Work together.
partnerships of all kinds,
To make these goals a reality.
These are the United Nations global goals.
for sustainable development.
Let's get to work.
We can be.
we must be the first generation
To end extreme poverty.
The generation
Most determined
to fight injustice
And inequalities.
The generation that saves the planet from climate change.
and this is how it will get done. The global goals.
a 15-year plan
For everyone, everywhere.
With no one left behind.
We will live in a world
Where nobody
Anywhere
Lives in extreme poverty.
Where no one
goes hungry.
where no one wakes in the morning
Asking if there will be food today.
We will live in a world where no child has to die.
Diseases we know how to cure.
And where proper health care
is a lifelong right for us all.
We will live in a world where
everyone goes to school
and education gives us the knowledge
and skills
for a fulfilling life.
We will live in a world where all girls and all women have equal opportunities to thrive
and be powerful and safe.
We cannot succeed if afterwards
we will live in a world
where all people can get clean water
and proper toilets at home,
At school,
and at work.
We will live in a world where there is sustainable energy for everyone,
Heat, light, and power for the whole planet.
without destroying the planet.
We will live in a world where economies prosper.
and new wealth.
Lead to decent jobs
for everyone.
and we will live in a world where our industry
our infrastructure and our
Best innovations.
Are not just used to make money, but to make all our lives better.
We will live in a world
where prejudices and extremes of inequality
are defeated.
Inside our countries,
And between different countries.
where people live in cities and communities
That are safe, progressive,
and support everyone who lives there.
where we replace
what we consume.
Planet where we put back
What we take out of the earth.
We live in a world that is decisively rolling back.
Climate change.
Where we restore and protect the life in our oceans and seas.
We'll restore and protect
Life on land.
The forests,
animals,
the earth itself.
with peace between and inside countries.
where all governments are open.
And answer to us for what they do at home and abroad.
And the justice rules.
With everyone equal before the law.
where all countries and we their people
Work together.
partnerships of all kinds
To make these goals a reality. These are the United Nations global goals
For sustainable development.
Let's get to work.
We can be.
We must be the first generation
to end extreme poverty.
The generation
Most determined.
To fight injustice
And inequalities.
The generation that saves the planet from climate change.
And this is how it will get done. The global goals
A 15-year plan
for everyone, everywhere.
with no one left behind.
We will live in a world
where nobody
Anywhere lives in extreme poverty.
Where no one
goes hungry.
Where no one
wakes in the morning.
It happens to everyone. Waiting in line for your morning coffee, you scroll social media and news on your phone. What you find depresses you. Thousands of migrants are fleeing a civil war, risking their lives only to be turned back at borders. Speculations have sent the housing markets into a frenzy, and employment numbers are tumbling down. Journalists have uncovered a decades-long cover-up of child abuse by coaches and doctors within competitive gymnastics in your country. Closing the news app, you open your family group chat. Maybe one of your siblings has posted something funny, and at this rate, you could use some cheering up. The group chat has blown up overnight, and what you see makes your heart sink. Bushfires are raging again, and there's one burning only 2 suburbs over from where your cousins live. Everyone is frantic with worry. At this point, you walk away, coffee in hand, tense, miserable, and confused. You think, this can't go on. Something needs to be done. Someone needs to step up. We need a plan to fix all this social injustice, economic chaos, and environmental destruction. This is where the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, come in. Fixing the kinds of problems that bring your entire day down in the morning coffee line can't happen in just one way. The SDGs cover sustainability from different angles: socially, economically, and environmentally. They set global goals for the 3 Ps: people, planet, and prosperity. The SDGs form the heart of the 2030 Agenda, an action plan adopted by all 193 countries of the United Nations. They call for decent jobs, quality education, good health, gender and income equality, clean energy and water, biodiversity, and climate action. They aim to reach sustainable development by 2030. Governments play a key role in achieving these goals, but they're not the only players. Businesses, civil society, Indigenous leaders, academia, and the general public all contribute as well. You might wonder where they came from. The SDGs were born in 2012 at the Rio Plus 20, a UN conference on sustainable development in Rio de Janeiro, which was the largest conference ever held by the UN. Until 2012, there were different international agreements that dealt with environmental challenges such as climate change and biodiversity loss. And
hello, everyone. Good day from where you're joining us from. I am Yetunde Junide, and I am the Program Associate for ADF Africa. It's nice to have you all here. I'm happy to see you all here, and expecting others to join us as the call goes on. So, how are you, everyone? How are you doing today? I hope you are happy to be on this call right now, because I am so happy, and you can see from my facial expression that I am happy to be here. Yes, as I'm happy to have you all here too. So, just show me by your expression that you're happy to be here too. You can use the emoji, you can wave through your video call so that I can see that you're really excited to be here right now, because I am too. So as we do that, thank you all for joining this call. Yes, thank you very much, Rabiu. I can see that. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So once again, my name is Yetunde Trinidad. I'm a program associate for ADF Africa, and I'm glad to have you all here. For a proper introduction, I have some of my team members here. I have Mr. Mayowa Onyeshun. I have Ayokunle. I have a lot of my team here too from ADF Africa, and you would hear from them too, and you will see what we have on to for today. So welcome once again to this program, and as I said before now, I'm happy to be here. So let's start with an introduction. I would like to know us by our name, where we're joining us from. So just tell us. I am Yetunde, joining us from Nigeria. Tell us your name, tell us where you're joining us from. You can do that on the chat box while I read some, and if you feel like saying that, that would be awesome too. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you all for joining once again. We are expecting others to join us, as we are expecting a lot of people on this program right now. And today's program is officially opening ceremony of the SDGs-AMP, which is this mentorship program, Africa SDG Mentorship Program. And we are glad to have you all on board. Yeah. Hello, can you please help mute your mic? Oh, done. Thank you very much. So please let me see your chats. I've not seen any chats. Are we not? I'm not happy to be here. Please, I want to see our names. I want you to introduce yourself. Let's know you. This is where the connection comes from. Let's start our own mentorship from here, if you don't mind. So you can drop on the chat box your name and when you're joining us from. I've told you myself, I'm joining from Nigeria, and I would want to know where you're joining us from too. So thank you very much. I'll be awaiting your messages on the chat box. Thank you. Oh, okay. I can see Rabiu Abdul Wahab. I'm a project manager joining from Bauchi. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for joining. We're happy to have you here on board. Yes, thank you so much for joining. So right about now, we're moving on to the welcome address by her regional lead for ADF Africa, Mr. Emmanuel Olaolowoyo. He will be giving us a welcome address for this opening ceremony for the SDG-AMP, Africa SDGs Mentorship Programme. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Yetunde. It's really a pleasant day for all of us at ADF Africa to be joining you at the occasion of this opening ceremony. On behalf of the leadership of ADF Africa, I am pleased to welcome and congratulate each and every one of you that have made it to be joining us at this opening ceremony this very day. Of course, it's a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening to you all, depending on your time zone, wherever you're joining us from. And of course, there also varies to each and every one of you. You wouldn't know how much you've come through for you to be joining us at this opening ceremony today. Of course, it was an overwhelming applicants list, but for you to be here joining us on this opening ceremony today, it must mean that something is spectacular, something is amazing and unique about you that has caused you to stand out of the several applicants that we have for the program. So I am Mayowa Onyeshun, the Head of Programs and Strategic Operation at ADF Africa, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all from the different countries spread across Africa, to this amazing program. Of course, it is one of the beautiful programs that delights us at ADF Africa. We are always very overwhelmed and amazed by the level of results that our fellows they put out, as a result of the impacts that we share through this program. So right about now, I wouldn't be giving you all the juices right now because if you stay with us to the very end, you'll catch all the juice and every good thing that you're supposed to learn. But I can assure you that today marks a significant milestone in your development and your journey towards a greater height, especially as it concerns accelerating sustainable development in Africa. So over the following months, as you stay with us at ADF Africa, we'll be taking you on this journey. We'll hold you by the hand. And for you to be so sure of what we're talking about, right this afternoon, we'll be having on this call with us some of the fellows from the last cohort to share their amazing story, what they've come on with now. They were just, curious individuals like yourself some months back, but after several months of staying with us, we're taking them through several phases of the demands of the program. Right about now, they are doing amazingly well with significant solutions across different facets of life within and beyond Africa. So once again, it is my joy to welcome all of you to this section this very afternoon. And of course, it is all merit from here. We congratulate you, and we hope that in the chat box you're able to congratulate yourselves too. I expect to be seeing the emojis, everything going on. But I wouldn't know what's going on now. I expect it to be all merit this afternoon. So I like to say again that you're welcome to ADF Africa. We are the leading organization for any sustainable development subjects within and beyond Africa. We have different phases of our hub. We have the development phase. We have the innovation phase. Of course, stay with us. You get to learn about all of this. And beyond the SDGs Africa Mentorship Programme, we also have some other amazing programs so that you may want to check on through when you walk through our social media and everything. We have Sustainable Energy Accelerator for you to benefit from. Of course, we have, amongst many others, Recycle Up, several other amazing programs. And I'm very sure before you leave here today, we're going to be sharing our social media for you to connect with us. There are amazing benefits for you to enjoy over it. So once again, it's my joy to welcome you to ADF Africa officially, especially for the 2025 cohort of the African Mentorship Programme, the SDGs Africa Mentorship Programme. So, you'll get to familiarize with you the more in the course of the month. And of course, we know it's going to be a very productive ride with you. Thank you very much. And I pass it back to you today.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah. We really appreciate you, and we are glad to have you here as you have told us a lot of things that we need to be anticipating for this program. I hope every one of you you're excited and very, very excited to be here. And I know you're anticipating a lot of things that is here on the program and from ADF Africa to offer. So sit back, sit well while we go on with the program for today. So right about now, I was expecting a lot of excitement as the congratulation messages was coming, as a lot of things were passed on to us. But I'm not seeing any. What is happening? What is happening? Don't let me take your flowers for you, please. So taking flowers, it takes a lot of effort for you to be on this program today, for you to be selected as one of the participants for this program. And that means you're doing well, you're doing the right thing that you need to do for you to be on this program at this moment. So please celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself, please. Please celebrate yourself. So right about now, we are moving on to the next thing. We would like to have some testimonials from some of our past participants who have been doing well, have gone through the program, and right now they have experiences, something to share with us, something to tell us about how the program has been. And this is just to tell us that we have a lot of people who are beneficiary of this program and are doing wonderfully well. They have moved ahead from where they are before now to being a better person. So I'll be inviting on the call now Ed Lowy to share us our experience on this program that she had last year, and how has it been? Is her experience so far, and what is going on right now? So I would like her to share with us. So Edla, wait, please, you have the mic.
Okay. So good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, maybe in your respective country time. This is Adelaide Lahon. I am the volunteer program associate in AIDF Africa currently, and I was one of the 2024 mentees of the AIDF SDG Mentorship Program. And first, I would like to say thank you very much, Yetunde, for inviting me to state my experience of the mentorship program. Just to start with, first, I would like to start by stating my gratitude and appreciation to the AIDAV Africa team for being able to organize this kinds of insightful and thoughtful mentorship program. I particularly was part of the SDG 16 team, and I would like to also thank my teammates, which I was been working with, for making the journey joyful and educational at the same time. So thank you very much, AI Dave, for also letting me to be introduced with such an amazing and passionate young people of Africa. Just to describe my experience during the mentorship program, the mentorship program has a lot of inputs, or has a lot of sections that you'll be able to learn several things at once. For instance, there is a weekly mentorship sessions, and the books to be read every month, and there are also weekly mentorship sessions, which are really helpful for young people to learn new things in each and every of their steps or their journey during the mentorship program. From the assignments given to the weekly team dialogues we did during the mentorship program, it was really thoughtful. It was really thoughtful in different aspects. Particularly, for instance, from my side, it really helped me how to be friendly with my time and to actually be dedicated to the knowledge that I would like to acquire, or that I would like to aspire to have. So I've learned that time has a non-negotiable part of time is a non-negotiable part of our life, and the program has also further taught me how to schedule myself, how to plan myself in order to achieve, in order to realize what I would like to acquire professionally, career wise, and also in my day-to-day life. The monthly books were also very much insightful. First, it helped me to get into the track of reading, so if you are given an assignment, then at least you'd be able to review the book. So it was really insightful, or it was really helpful for me to get into my reading track. The mentorship program, most of all, is very much important for the young people like us who would like to contribute or put our footprints to this amazing continent, to transcribe our ideas into concrete written forms. For instance, when I planned to join the mentorship program, I have had an idea of working with the youth on peace and security and their meaningful engagement in peace processes. And during this SDG mentorship program, I've acquired important knowledge on how to prepare my ideas into a proper concrete paperwork, and into a concrete paperwork in order to be able to implement it in the future, or in my current engagements in different organizations. Furthermore, it also gave me the techniques to articulate my ideas through the pitch deck assignment which was given for us. I hope you will delve into these kinds of assignments when you get into the actual exercises, which was really helpful for me. So in general, I would say that the mentorship program is not does not only give you theoretical and technical knowledge, but also it gives you the opportunity to also build your soft skills. Like for instance, as I mentioned before, I had the opportunity to meet such a passionate and amazing young Africans. So I was able to create digital friends or e-friends, which gave me the opportunity to also continue to learn from my teammates even outside of the normal team meeting hours, which was really helpful, and which I believe will also helpful to the young peoples of Africa who are part of this mentorship program to build and enhance their teamwork skills. So to conclude, I would say, or I would like to say that I really strongly encourage for young people who are already part of this mentorship program to effectively work and to dedicate their time to the assignments given, to the weekly mentoring sessions, to the book review assignments, so that they can be able to get the practical tools and be able to implement the guidelines given, the practical tools given to effectively implement their ideas in their respective country or in their respective organization or in their respective sector that they are working on. Thank you very much. Asante, shukran, merci. Thank you, Yatunde.
Yes, thank you so much, Ed Laurit. And from what she has said, and you can see that it's a lot, and you just have to try as much as possible to be on your tail to do everything possible, because everything that you'll be doing in this program would help you to develop yourself personally and career-wise. So I have someone else who is going to share their experience with us on this program. I have Ayomide Ilesomi. Ilesomi is going to be sharing with us our experience through the program last year. Thank you very much. Ayomide, you have the floor. Ayomide, you're muted.
Thank you. I was waiting for you to unmute me. So good evening, everyone. I am Ayomide Ilesomi, and I was privileged to be among the 2024 SDGs-AMP. For me, a very enlightening one for me. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to, take the course, because first off, we had 3 stages. Yes, we had 3 stages. First, topics like thinking, how to craft a proper group, several topics literally. Then we went to the action phase where we had to work on different projects based on our SDGs group, based on our SDGs goals, and we were divided into different groups, still based on our SDG groups, right? So it's a very amazing one for me, especially this development phase, because I had to work with several people within and outside Nigeria. I had the opportunity to connect with like minds such as myself. Yes, I worked with other people, and during my time I volunteered to be the team lead. So kind of strengthened my leadership capability, because working with different people that you've not met with at all, it was challenging. At the same time, it was very, very exciting. And now I can say almost all of the people I worked with, we still talk even till date. Then we also had the mentorship phase where we had to, connect with a particular mentor in our field. And I can say till date, I'm still in touch with the mentor, and she's someone I look up to greatly. Thank you so much, Ida, for the opportunity. Aside from this, we had to work on a project. Mine was sustainable menstrual hygiene and education and assets, and it's something that I'm still working on even after my mentorship with IDEF. So I would say thank you so much for the opportunity. Also, the weekly dialogue sessions with our team where we had to read books and discuss about it, the think tank. Every part of IDEF's mentorship was amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you, Mr. Maiwa, for bringing me all here to share my experience. Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing with us your knowledge. And you can see that it's just beyond the mentorship program. And as she has said, that she has to exercise her leadership ability. And this is part of the things that we're building at ADF Africa. We don't just want to talk about SDGs, but we want to make sure that we are developed personally and professionally. So thank you very much for sharing with us, Ayomide Lesomi, your experience on the mentorship program. Thank you so much. So I have the last person, but not the least, that will be sharing their experience to us today on what their experience has been, how they've seen the program, the impact that the program has been on them. And I have with me Puleng Pete. I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name well. Don't find me, please, because I don't have much. I'm so sorry. So yeah, let's have you, Puleng.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. Thank you.
I'm going to try and switch on my video. Just let me know if it's visible.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to share my experience. It was very eye-opening. I think one common thing that I've also observed with many of the cohorts that we spend time with, even from other SDGs, is it created such a learning environment, one that we will carry even beyond the ADEV experience. And I will forever be grateful for that. The fact that you would meet people from different backgrounds. I mean, we interacted with people who are dealing with issues around water in rural Kenya. You will speak to people who are talking about health in rural Nigeria. And when you're in your own world, in your own bubble, you never really comprehend the kind of issues that our continent is dealing with, and most importantly, the impact that you can make as an individual. Because I think all of us have something to do in our little corner that will eventually lead to a sustainable world that we are trying to build. So the mentorship taught me that it doesn't have to be a big thing that you're doing. It's great if it's big, but it's us coming together, us sharing knowledge, us seeing the world through each other's eyes, that we are able to make a much bigger impact. I don't think I would have come to that realization. And it yielded so many results. For me personally, the decisions that I've made in terms of my career, what I want to do next, what I want the person who employs me to be doing. Because, sometimes most of my sustainability initiatives I do through my employer. And some I do in my own personal capacity. But in terms of impact, it's better to come together. It's better. We have more to do and far more to reach when we do come together and collaborate. And I think that's why SDG 17 resonated the most with me, because it really focused on what are these synergies between us, between the different SDG. If you're going to deal about poverty, you're going to deal about education, you're going to deal about health, you're going to deal about inequality, because all of them feed into one another. But we don't have to be doing things isolated. We could all come together and make sure that we are systematic and we are planning our things such that we yield the best results. The mentorship programs led me to those realizations. The weekly dialogues led me to those realizations. The books that we read led me to those realizations. And the beautiful, beautiful people that were in my SDG 17 group led me to those realizations. And, you know, to be very honest, the exposure that I got on the program shaped the person that I am and the person that I want to show up as in the world today, and the kind of impact that I believe I can make in my country and the region and hopefully globally. So I am forever grateful. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your experience, and I'm so flabbergasted. Yes, you know, it's very interesting when you're doing a program and it's making a lot of impact. And from everyone that I've spoken today, you can see that they have connected with each other. You have the network of people from different countries, from different backgrounds, coming together to do a particular work. You have an opportunity to show your leadership role, to exercise your leadership ability, to do a lot of things, because EDF Africa is here to offer you a lot, and it's just for you to just be open-minded and be a positive change person, so that you can assimilate everything that we have to offer. So thank you everyone for sharing your experiences, and I hope, and I'm seeing that this is getting interesting, as a lot of people are seeing the possibility and the positive energy from this program. Thank you very much once again for joining us and sharing your experience. So right about now, we'll be moving to the information section. We'll be having Mr. Mayowa Onioshun. Sorry. Yes, we're having Mr. Mayowa Onioshun to give us the information section. Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Mayo on your show, please, you have the mic.
Okay, a very good evening, everyone.
Okay.
Good evening. That's fine. Don't worry. I have you covered. That's fine. Well done to each and everyone. Wow, have been enjoying this session, and I think this is just a very good way to start this program. And I want to say a very big congratulations to each and every fellows that were selected to this program. And yeah, my work this evening has reduced because the fellows from 2024, 2023, they just, all what is said is detailed, and this is not the hyping the program now. It's something that you would definitely experience. And depending on how you were able to pay attention, how you were able to be consistent, and how you're able to participate in the program, you're even going to benefit beyond that, which Dave said this evening. So quickly, I'm just going to be sharing about what this program is all about. And my name is Emmanuel Oluyo, and I'm graced to be part of the project leads for EDF Africa. And this evening, I believe each and every one of us, I think I need to ask this question first. There was an email sent to each and every one of you, and on that email, you were required to download a program guide. If you've downloaded a program guide and you've studied it, I want to see your emoji. I want to see your comments. I just want to see your yes, yes, yes. I want to see you say yes. I can see a lot of people on YouTube call. And if you've downloaded the program guide and you've studied the program guide that was shared with you via the first email which you received, I want to see your comments. Say yes. So except those of us, there is nobody that have studied the program guide. But very, very important. Okay. I can see you say yes. Mercy Roslyn, Olua Boris said yes, I did. So say no if you've not. There is no sin. There is no sin there. No one is going to crucify you. Absolutely. And I can see a lot of people saying yes, 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 yes. Even those of you that flipped through and did not read to detail. And I'm very sure that some people are still going to ask that, what is next? What do we have next on this program? Actually, the program guide details every information you need, every update you need for this mentorship program. And once again, on behalf of the leadership of ADEV Africa, I want to say a very big congratulations to each and every one of you that has made it to this phase. I think right now I'll just quickly share my screen briefly to put out some information regarding the mentorship program. And for those of you that are yet to study the program guide, please do well and ensure you download it and review it in detail. Like I earlier mentioned, the program guide, it's well detailed enough for you to understand and to know each and every information which you need. Everything you need to know about the mentorship program is all in there. So I might not be spending much time telling you about the goals, telling you about the objectives of the program. And yeah, but basically I will have to do the most important ones, which I've been instructed to do by the programs team. So once again, a very good evening to you all, and from whichever country which you might be joining from. And when we talk about the mentorship program is a 9-month program which has been designed to build the capacity of young African professionals. And very, very importantly, I'll just be sharing some brief information about this program now. And the very first question which you need to ask is, where am I part of this program? What do I intend to benefit from this program? And it all lies with you. It all depends on you, what you choose to benefit from this program. If you say that what you are coming to benefit is to build your skill sets, or depending on the type of the area you are looking forward to groom yourself. And it might be a soft skill, it might be a technical skill, and maybe you want to grow your network, it depends. But there are many things which you can get to benefit from this program. And basically, this program is going to develop your skill, is going to improve your knowledge and expertise when it comes to you getting to establish impactful solutions, transformative and impactful solutions in your respective countries. And talking about the mentorship program, I will just try as much as possible to make this very brief, because these are information which you have, and I would still want you to go and study it in detail. Like, many people apply for this program, and few were chosen. I think we had close to 3,000 participants, or 2,000 plus rather. And based on what we have from the project team, we have like 2,004 fellows that were chosen for this year. And we are glad at ADEV that we're able to fulfill our 2025 targets, because our 2025 target is to have been able to train 5,000 African fellows, young professionals. And this year accumulates that. And we are glad that you are part of that, which we intend to achieve. I'm just going to do a brief of what the various phases and what the various structure and activity of the program is all about. The very first phase is starting right away, and which you're going to be having your training session every Thursdays, 5 p.m. You're going to be having like 5 training sessions at the foundation phase. The foundation phase is just like an introduction, introducing you to what the SDGs are, and you getting to know about the Agenda 2063 as well. Very, very important, because there are correlations and there is a need for you to know, which area. Then also you getting to know how to ideate, you getting to know how to identify problems and create relatable and impactful solutions to those problems. Very, very important. These are things which you're going to be learning in the foundation phase. And as part of the foundation phase, you're also going to be submitting your solution proposal. Your solution proposal means that this is a problem I want to solve. This is a problem I've identified in my community. It's not like you are in Kenya and you're identifying a problem in Rwanda, and your solution does not need to cover the entire nation. You can start. You have to start from your community. If you remember, one of the fellows was saying something. It doesn't have to be big. It can be small, and you make a very great impact. So that's one of those things you're going to learn from the program. And also, after that, you are moving to the development phase. There is a good news and there is a bad news. We are always sincere in ADEP. It's not everyone that it's not the 2004 that got to the foundation phase that we entered the development. In fact, 1,000 will not get to the development phase. So you have to be prepared, and you don't just have to come up with any idea. Your idea might be an existing idea. It might be something that you've been running and you are thinking of scaling up. These are things you're going to get to do within the development phase. And you get to, like your colleague said, the previous fellow said earlier, you're going to be doing a lot of book reading. I think I should just move on from this slide whereby I can show the real timeline. And I can show this is the metrics we have for 2025. Just like I said, we have 2004 fellows and like 1,150 are males, and we have 854 females on this program. Wow, awesome. And looking at the sectioning, we have 25% coming from West Africa, 33% coming from East Africa, and the 42% coming from other parts of African region. Basically, this program is focused for Africans, and definitely you might be in another continent, but definitely it's strictly for African young professional. And I will just try as much as possible to summarize. Okay, this is a disclaimer. Like, many of us definitely, like I said, you have your purpose. There is a reason why you joined this program. There is a reason, there's something which you intend to benefit joining this program. And you need to be very sure and you need to be very serious of the purpose. Yeah, ADEP will not give you money. Let me say that. Let's start saying that now so that we can understand each other. But be rest assured that ADEP is going to give you something beyond money. You're going to be imparted beyond money. I have a mentor on the call now, and right away, I have a mentor on the call. His father is a mentor to me for many years. I've not seen him before. He has been a blessing to me. He has been a blessing to us. He has been a blessing to a lot of people, and we are so glad to always have him around, to be part of everything we do at ADEP. And the knowledge which we get to learn, all those things which we get to learn transcend beyond money. So, as you are coming as 2025 fellow, there are a lot of things you are going to benefit. Networks. Remember, one of the fellows said something the other time that ideally the rule is after you are done with the mentorship session, you are not meant to further engage with your mentor unofficially. So, but definitely in one way or the other, she was able to connect with her mentor, and that they kept that existing relationship. So very, very important. These are people that ordinarily you won't even have access to get close to them. But we can assure you that these are people that you are going to learn from. You are going to, it's just a great process of you getting to build on what you intend to do, the solutions you intend to initiate in your respective country. So I'm just going to use 5 minutes. Yetunde, once it exits 5 minutes, you have to stop me because my own mentor is here in person of Professor Patrick Walsh. Thank you for joining. Yetunde is going to welcome you, sir, immediately after this information session. But I would just like to quickly speak to what the activities of this program is all about. And if you've really downloaded it, this should not be new to you, definitely, because it's this is a document which we believe that each and every one of you have, and it's very important you get to study very well. So you can just go, if you don't have the document, go and download it. It's in your email. And like I earlier said, this program is in 3 phases: foundation phase, development phase, and advancement phase. The foundation phase is the introductory part, whereby you have like 5 workshop series focused on SDGs, design thinking, how to get to scale solution as African youth, and all of that. And also, you're going to be having an assessment 15th of March, which is part of the major criteria that is going to be used to assess you moving to the development phase. And attendance is also very compulsory. You don't come to ADF training without attending classes. And if you miss a class, you can still rewatch the session. The sessions are on YouTube for you to rewatch over and over again. And like I earlier mentioned, at the end of phase 1, you're going to be submitting your development solution proposal, which is detailing the solution, that problem you intend solving in your location, in your community. And after that, you're going to move to the development phase. The fellows that are going to be moved to development phase by 1st of April, you're going to be notified. And we move to the advanced specialized training. You know, this is a part of this program, which I so much love. I remember last year, I attended some of the session, and it was just like a refresher course for me. And you know, you learning doesn't end. You keep learning over and over again. And at the end of each and every month, you're going to be having the monthly growth performance and evaluation reports to tell us what has changed, what you've learned, how you've been able to develop yourself. And also, every Saturday of the week, you're going to be having team bonding because we're going to be having 17 SDG groups. It's important you choose a particular group. You can't belong to 2 groups. Definitely, if you do that, you are going to be evicted from the program. The program coordinators are going to watch you closely on that. And they're also going to guide you when you get to phase 2. And also, you're going to be reading like 5 to 6 books. I mean, you read books on leadership, you read books on communication, you read books on emotional intelligence, you read books on finance, like 5 to 6 books or thereabouts, which is going to be communicated with you. And it's also important that you try as much as possible to write proposals, try as much as possible to, you know, definitely you see grant opportunities that are going to be shared with you. When these opportunities are, definitely you get to apply as well. But more importantly, the second part of development phase, which is very crucial, is the research and case study development work. And you're going to be doing this as SDG group. And another thing which you're also going to be doing is you're going to be having a workshop series to speak on your research, what you've been able to develop as a team, as maybe take, for example, SDG4. I think like tomorrow now, I'm having a mentoring session with SDG2 fellows. Like 5 of them came together to develop a digital solution for food system in Africa. And, you know, this is something which they did. This was something which they did last year. And very, very important. One thing which also preach as fellows to each and every fellow is try as much as possible to partner. Collaboration. When we get there, we'll talk more about that. And like I said, you have the workshop series, which is also going to be a 2-edition workshop series, which you do across your SDG groups. When we get to the development phase, we are going to talk more about that. I have just 1 minute more. This document you have with you, and I know you today is already staring at me that Mr. Emmanuel, it remains 1 minute. Okay, at the end of phase 2, at the commencement of phase 3, you're also going to be trained on how to develop your one-pager based on your solution, develop your elevator speech, your profile, and a professional profile, and also your pitch deck, whereby you can get to submit. You can also use to apply for more grants, and you know these are documents which you also have. And at phase 3, you are going to be connected with your mentors. Very, very important. That's where you're going to meet your mentors for like 2 months, 1 month plus or thereabouts, or 2 months or thereabouts. And at the end of it, you get to submit your development solution report. And we close up in October, 31st of October, with a graduation ceremony. I think if you have a question, hopefully after Professor Paul is done with the session, we might take 1 or 2 questions, or at our subsequent sessions. And also a link will be shared with you if you have concerns. you can get to drop your questions there. Thank you very much. And once again, congratulations to each and every one of you. Over to you, Yetunde. I hope I managed the time well.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel Olaoluwayo. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you for the information. And I hope you have all noted one or two things that we need to take note of. And please let's download the requirement that is meant for us to download so that we can get all the required information. Okay. Right about now, I want you to welcome with me a very great person, a very great personality. I've been looking up to this day to meet him. Yes, I know we're still meeting virtually now, but I know we still meet physically one of these days. Yes, and he is Professor Patrick Paul Wash. Yes, you're welcome, sir. And I would like to read for us, let me just say a short profile, because his profile, when I checked through his profile, I almost read 3 pages. I was like, how do I want to do this? But no, don't worry. I will try as much as possible to summarize. So that is how much he has to do in the community, and he's doing so well. So Professor Patrick Paul Wash is the Vice President of Education and Director of SDG Academy at the UN Sustainable Development Solution Network, SDSN. He's on secondment from University College Dublin, where he remained a full professor of international development study, director of UCD, MSc in sustainable development in partnership with the SDG Academy, and president of the Statistic and Social Inquiry Society, SSISI, of Ireland. He received a PhD in economics from the London School of Economics and Political Science. He is a Government of Ireland Fellow, Maria Curie, that's Brussels Fellow, IZA, that's Bonn, then Fellow, RSA, London Fellow, EIHR, Brussels Fellow, and REPOA, Tanzania Fellow. He has held academic position in Trinity College, Dublin, KU, Leuven, Harvard University, and Columbia University. He has also held positions in the United Nations, European Commission, IMF, and World Bank. His current focus is on sustainable development education that is informed by science, practice, and politics. Please, with a wonderful club, with different kind of emojis, with beautiful emojis, I want you to welcome with me Professor Patrick Paul Wash. Yes, I want to see your excitement of meeting him, and I want you to try as much as possible to check him on LinkedIn and see the beautiful work he's doing, because I've done that and I'm marveled. You're welcome, sir.
Oh, great. I'm unmuted. So it's a very kind introduction. And just to say to Emmanuel, I'm not his mentor, he's mine. So he's actually on the high-level advisory council of the SDG Academy, and his input is always extremely valued. And it's always a joy to be here today. It's such a great program. I know it's an onboarding ceremony, but hopefully it's going to be a wonderful journey for everyone, because obviously at a certain point in my life, I've decided to turn and to do as much as I can for sustainable development or the sustainable development goals. But none of that has been possible if you don't go on a journey to discover what they are and what their possibilities are. So, and I think this is obviously a wonderful program and has been a very successful program. The second thing is, don't worry about my CV. That just means I'm old. It just means that I've been around a long time, and each and every one can achieve any of that if they want to. But anyway, so I prepared a presentation, and hopefully it's of use. I just want to explain what the SDG Academy and SDSN are, just in case you don't know, because obviously ADEV are affiliated with us. And secondly, I want to take a little history, just to look at the SDGs, just to really understand where they came from and why. And of course, we'd have to put it into the current day context. And And then finally, I just want to show you some of the projects that we're doing, because they might be of interest. And of course, when you get to the mentoring stage or the project stage, you know, you might actually consider through Manuel or through yourself, you know, just to say, you can contact me. They may be of interest to people who want to do their projects in these areas. Okay. Is that all right? Is that a good plan? Hopefully. Okay, from the beginning, here we go. So I'm going to show you what SDSN is in a minute. I was actually there at the foundation of SDSN, and I was on the board. And then coming out of COVID, I decided to go into what we call operations, or to run the education division, or what we call the SDG Academy. But legally, I'm still a full-time professor in University College Dublin. And basically, if you like football, I'm on loan, if you like, to SDSN. That's the way you can think of it. But still, I do 1 day a week in University College Dublin, where I run the online Masters in Science in Sustainable Development, which is actually done in partnership with the SDG Academy, because we use all the different courses and resources with the SDG Academy. And in case I forget, we are setting up a master's online in University of Dar es Salaam in November, and it's going to be Pan-African, so it could interest people if they want to consider maybe a pathway into a master's of science, but it would be through Dar es Salaam, even though we'd share a lot of the courses with UCD and with Chinese University of Hong Kong and University of West Indies, etc. Because when you're online in the cloud like we are today, we can all drop in, drop out. We can all talk to each other and mentor each other. So that's the big advantage, obviously, of being online. Just to explain SDSN, the reason why SDSN exists is that there's a Professor Jeffrey Sachs, which you probably know, who's a university professor in Columbia University. And he's an extremely well-known person. And he was a special advisor to Kofi Annan first, with the Millennium Development Project, and then Ban Ki-moon, and now Antonio Guterres. So 3 secretary generals, he's been special advisor. But coming into the post, what we call 2015 era, people were looking at what would replace the Millennium Development Goals. Now, you know it as the Sustainable Development Goals, but at the time, that's not what it was called. And the decision to do this was in Brazil at a conference called Rio Plus 20, and there was a document called The Future We Want. And in that document, Ban Ki-moon and Jeffrey Sachs, they actually articulate that we want to do the biggest consultative process ever in what replaces the Millennium Development Goals. And it was one of the biggest UN consultative process. So it just wasn't through governmental work plans and committees, but there was huge consultation across corporates and civil society and academia, etc. But what SDSN was asked to do, and at the time it was co-chaired by Amina Mohammed, obviously from Nigeria as well, and she at the time co-chaired the SDSN, which mandate was to oversee from a legal and academic point of view, the recommendations that were coming from the consultative processes or the work plans. So that when the Secretary General was taking the recommendations to the Irish ambassador, David Dunyahu, and the Kenyan ambassador, Ambassador Kamau, that they would get a synthesis of the 3 years of consultation, and they would bring that into the intergovernmental negotiations, right? So that was the beginning of SDSN. When that mandate was actually over in November 2024, so I went to New York and I was visiting Jeffrey Sachs and the Earth Institute, and I was there to work on this for the whole year, but actually the mandate stopped in November 24, and I subsequently went on into the intergovernmental negotiations themselves for 9 months, which produced the outcome document, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. But SDSN in September 2015, when this agenda was adopted, and the Paris Agreement, obviously later in December in 2015, we became a kind of think tank, if you like, to Amina Mohammed or the Secretary General's area, for academia or thought leaders to mobilize partnerships across government, corporate and civil society to implement the SDGs and the Paris Agreement at all levels of governance, meaning community levels, community levels, national levels, regional levels like European Union, and global levels. So that's what we mean by governance at all levels. And this is interesting because in a way, this is academics and thought leaders coming out of their universities or their silos, realizing that we have to go through a process of transformation if we really want a world that's respectful to nature and to people in general. In other words, stay within planetary boundaries and respect social protection, floors of human rights for people. And we have to come out of our everyday work, come together and to try to mobilize partnerships to implement this agenda. And the Partnership Forum was yesterday in the UN, actually. So it's the first meeting of the Economic and Social Council every year. And it always emphasizes that the UN in itself is just, it's great that everyone comes and talks and agrees and coordinates across countries. But when it comes to implementation, it actually does need what we call the whole of government, whole of society. We do actually need people within countries and across countries like academia and corporates and civil society and everyone to coordinate to help implement this agenda, right? So SDSN in today's world has 2,000 knowledge institutions across the world. It has 3 offices, one in New York, one in Paris, and one in Kuala Lumpur. There's a bit of demarcation across those offices. But I guess what you'd know from the Paris office is the SDG dashboard. So that's the ranking of countries each year about their progress on the 169 targets or 17 goals of the agenda. We also produce things like the happiness report, which you probably are aware of, you know, ranking of countries and achieving happiness. But that's the type of work, the data work done in Paris. The Academy, I'll explain in a second what we do. So that's what SDSN is. The Academy, we're probably known best for our courses that are free, and hopefully you'll use some of them when you're actually being trained and mentored. And there's actually they're up in edX and other platforms where you might know them as massive online courses, but basically more than 50 courses in all the SDGs. And what's interesting about these courses is that they were developed to train people in the UN system, but also the idea was to have great science, but we wanted to make sure it appealed to policy people and people in practice. So we didn't go easy on the science, but I think they're nicely produced. And in a sense, we're translating science into policy and practice, and just to show how the SDGs can be achieved. And of course, we're very loyal to the SDG agenda. So we never cherry pick. We always say that you always have to consider environmental, social, economic, and governance aspects of anything you do. It doesn't matter whether it's a decision in a household, decision in a company, a decision in a government department. You just have to be very careful. If you're making economic policies, you've got to say, well, what are the social, environmental, and governance consequences of this type of economic policy, for example, right? All that content, the videos are in a library, and you can actually pull them down, like 15-minute videos, etc. So hopefully Emmanuel knows that, and you can take them for your training. Now, just that's edX in itself, a couple of months ago hit 1 million certifications, where we actually had 1 million people actually doing the courses. It's not 8 billion of people in the world, but it's still good, obviously, to have 1 million. But just because a course is free doesn't mean it's used. So now we're actually working a bit harder to have communities of practice where we take the content and we work with governments to put it in their training LMS systems for kind of training or HR training. We work with corporates on their planning and ESG training. We work with NGOs. We work with universities, with vet colleges. We work with schools and school teachers, just to help them just like this program, it's about, just because the information's there, it doesn't mean that you put the time into learning. You need structure, you need a community, you need certification, you need mentors, etc. Right? And that's what we've been doing in that sort of dissemination. We have another interesting idea, of course, is that knowledge is not just there. I mean, knowledge is not just something that's we know how to implement the SDGs in all countries of the world and all communities, because that's not true. So it's not something that just has to be accessed and disseminated. It actually has to be created. And that's why communities, like when we work with UNIDO or UNESCO or others, we realize that there's, we have to come together to create the content and the knowledge that's necessary and adapt it and repurpose it in the situation that it's needed, in the languages that it's needed, etc. Right? So that's why our open education resource initiative with UNESCO, or the recommendation, is so important to us. And knowledge equity is important. So everyone should be creating the knowledge. Everyone should be then accessing it and repurposing it. So you probably know the open science movement, but less aware of the open education resource movement. But that's the idea, that knowledge should be a public good and everyone should be free to contribute to knowledge and use knowledge and repurpose it and put it in its local context. And that sounds simple, but actually it's not as simple as it sounds at all. We're also working on a lot of thought leadership, meaning we do blogs, publications, we go to UN events, and we just try to tell everyone, the UN system and corporates and governments and universities, that everyone probably did not learn how to care for nature and care for people in their education, and everyone has to go back to school. And that professional training and upskilling and reskilling and education is so important. It's actually the big enabler of this project. And if we don't do that, there is no project. And sometimes people forget about that. So you could, with financing, you get all the governments in the world to give the money necessary for this project, like $3 to $6 trillion a year, right? You could have all the governments putting the policies and plans in place, but if you don't have the staff in government, in corporates, in civil society actually upskilled and understanding the project, how can you implement it? You can't, right? So never underestimate the importance of knowing knowledge and education and training, right? And of course, this program is addressing that issue as well. Just to give you an idea of some of the courses, you might we did a bit. Normally in the old days, we went on site to do filming. So think of it like a Netflix movie or something. We went to the Amazon. But this time, we were working with policy people, a science panel, and we had we had a document and recommendations that was done with community and obviously policy people. So we had science policy practice interface. But we actually got drone footage from civil society or the NGOs, and we were able to create a course where it appeared that we filmed it on location, but we didn't. We actually just took the footage from the NGOs and people and filmmakers around the Amazon, etc. So this is called the Living Amazon. It's a free course and it's very popular. I'd encourage you to look at it, because even with emissions, like we're trying to reduce gashouse emissions, there's climate warming, we all know this, but we have to understand that what happens on land in terms of absorption of carbon and carbon sinks and production of oxygen is just so important as well. We can't lose the Amazon, we can't lose the Congo Basin, and we can't lose the Indonesian forest, because they're our sources of oxygen and they're the big carbon sinks. So for us to achieve Paris or the SDGs, land, SDG 15 is actually very, very important. And of course, that's what that course is about. Over the summer, or last summer, I did a course on revitalizing multilateralism for sustainable development. And all I did there, I did a half course first, which was to give some background to the Summit of the Future. The Summit of the Future was about looking at governance in the UN and other intergovernmental organizations like the World Bank and the IMF, but also asking whether these institutions are interoperable with corporates, with universities, and so on. So it's very much looking at governance, basically. That outcome document came in September. We had a nice document called the Summit of the Pact for the Future, it was called, and I'm going to give you some details on these slides later. I'm finishing off this course though, this year, where I'll be looking at what's called the World Social Summit, because that's a Guterres in 21 basically went, we need to turbocharge the ability to achieve or to achieve the SDGs, because we were behind the curve. Now we're even further behind the curve now, because we've had COVID and we've had this geopolitics, etc. But he started to focus on peace processes, finance, education, governance, and actually between 21 and 25, the last installment is the World Social Summit. And the World Social Summit is very interesting because it really focuses on poverty and human rights, etc. But the key thing it asks is that, do people really care about other people and nature outside their own community or outside their own sphere of influence? Because if we don't actually have people, and particularly in government, who don't have empathy and respect for people outside their own country or outside their own jurisdiction, it's going to be very difficult to coordinate so that we keep our food systems healthy, keep oceans healthy, keep our climate healthy, right? So it's going to be this new social contract. You can think of it as global citizen education. But we all have to realize that actually it's just one planet with one ocean, one water basin, one food system, and one climate chamber. And actually, we have to work together to keep that healthy. We depend on that. All life on this planet depends on a safe living space. So that's what that course is about if you want to look at it. And again, I put up details on the masters. You can do 10 credits on edX with SDG Academy courses like prior learning. Then you can do a professional diploma, which is like a micro-credential. And then it leads into fee and credit offset into the master's itself. And most of the people doing the master's in this course are outside of Europe, actually, and outside the US. So it's a lot of professionals right across the world, particularly in the UN system, need a master's, and they find this very useful. And we're setting one up in Dar es Salaam as well in November, so you might find it interesting, but I'll send those details on. Okay, so just very quickly, that won't be too, so I will distribute the slides and you can have a look at this, but you're going to have to study this over the course of this program. But, sustainable development is not particularly a new idea, right? In the sense that it didn't arrive on our doorsteps in 2015. I mean, this idea that people should care for other people and care for nature has been around a long time. But I guess one kind of starting point would be the Brundtland. This is the Norwegian foreign minister, Lady Brundtland, in Our Common Future, defined sustainable development as sustainable development, that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, right? So this is the idea that all generations, young and old, we've inherited, sustainable, hopefully some types of livelihoods, a decent sort of society or whatever elements we have, and water, and we've inherited the environment, and we should be leaving behind all of these things in good a condition as we found them, and if even better, if we can leave them in better conditions so that our children and grandchildren can have better livelihoods, obviously better societal and environmental outcomes. So that's the basic idea, the intergeneration idea of sustainable development. Rio Plus 20, as I say, was the first time, and it was brought to the table by Colombia, the country, and Brazil in particular, saying the UN has been talking about climate all these years, going back to the Earth Summit, like going back to even 1972, and we all know there's global warming, we all know there's problems, but nothing's happening. So wouldn't it be a good idea that we integrate the social, economic, and environmental dimensions into one thing, so that when we're thinking about policy and plans, that we would actually think about economic and social and environmental targets together and governance targets. And that's where the four, if you like, dimensions of the SDGs were mentioned in Rio Plus 20. And that was the beginning of what's called the SDGs. And then after the 3 years of work programs and intergovernmental negotiations, the Transforming Our World 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was adopted in 2015. We have to realize that the SDGs is the overarching framework, because SDG 13 is the Paris Agreement, which is the pathways to net zero. There's targets by 2030, but net zero by 2050. And then we've had the renegotiation of what I call the biodiversity targets, which are also in the SDGs, mainly in SDG 14 and 15. And they were renegotiated in the Kunming-Montreal Biodiversity Framework. And again, that framework, even though it sets out its own targets, particularly the 30-30, that 30% of marine protected areas should be set aside for nature, 30% of the high seas, 30% of land should be given back to nature. And this goes back to the idea that humans maybe are not so great at coexisting with nature, even though we should learn how to do that, particularly in cities. And that one strategy is to give nature back 30% of the seas, 30% of the marine protected areas, 30% of the land, and that will then protect the ecosystem for all of us. In fact, one very famous biodiversity person, Wilson, I think in Harvard, had a book called Half Earth, where he actually said it had to be 50% of the land and 50% of the seas had to be given back to nature so we could sustain 9 billion people. But this is the Kunming-Montreal Biodiversity Framework, which was signed in 2022, and it's actually, again, a subset of the SDGs. And then finally, the Secretary General, fearing that we're not making enough progress to the SDGs, had a thing called the Common Agenda, and it was a program from 21 to 25. And the emphasis there was more about the MOIs, the means of implementation, the enablers. So things like education, finance, data, partnerships, technology, like these are enablers. They had to be SDG orientated. And he had 3 big summits. One was the Transforming Education Summit in 22. Then he had the Governance Summit, the Summit of the Future in 2024. And now we have the World Social Summit in 2025. So I'm not going to go through. It's quite interesting to look at the intergovernmental process that produced the SDGs. I do want to say, though, that the Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, is not just about the 17 goals and 169 targets. It also has a vision and a preamble and has principles which you can have a look at, like leave no one behind, for example, or what we call integrated approaches to the SDGs. But it also has a section on means of implementation, and it also has a section on governance called follow up and review. So it's not just the goals, it's the means of achieving these goals, and then the means of actually reviewing the goals and trying to get a pathway to implementing. It's quite detailed at the global level through the high level political forum. And then it's less prescriptive as you go down to regional or national levels. But the hope is that when people do their voluntary national reviews at a government level, that it would be interoperable with the regional and global sorts of approaches to setting the targets, the baselines, and following up and reviewing how we're doing and how we're achieving them, right? They're the MOIs. These are the means of implementation. So we have a big finance for development conference in Seville in June this year, which is now going to talk about how do we get the money to implement this agenda, because we're not getting enough of it through the likes of the World Bank and the IMF and the regional banks. We really have to come up with innovative ways to actually generate more finance for the SDGs, but also for middle to low income countries to achieve sustainable development pathways as well. How do we make sure technologies are not dedicated to war? We want them dedicated to tech for good and for achieving the SDGs. What type of data do we need to be able to do this? What type of partnerships do we need? How do we get academia more tight on policymakers in terms of a science policy interface? How do we transform education? How do we do professional training and upskilling of the labor force? How do we bring in better governance, like for corporates, ESG reporting, or that's for corporates, for governments, voluntary national reviews, for universities, rankings, let's say, on the SDGs by the Times Higher Education. So these are all the MOIs of achieving this agenda. The key messages, of course, and this is in the preamble, it's a universal agenda, so every country is the same. All countries have to report in the same way. It's a transformative agenda, meaning we can't expect the status quo to change or to remain the same, in the sense that there's going to be new products and service, new companies, young people with different ideas, and you have to allow what I call a Schumpeterian wave of creative destruction. You have to let the unsustainable, like fossil fuels, you've got to let the unsustainable practices and products go, and companies and their taxes, etc. And then you've got to bring in the more sustainable practices, right? So the other thing is the MDGs had a strange thing where it wanted to reduce the 1990 level of poverty down by 50%, but people felt that some countries achieved this by the low-hanging fruit, so they'd help, you know, they wouldn't go to the poorest of the poor first. So this agenda has supposed to have a zero tolerance, in that we really don't want to leave anyone behind. We want to have a social protection floor for everyone. We want to have stay within planetary boundaries for everyone and have livelihoods for everyone. So that's the leaving no one behind principle. And the other thing is, apart from being a universal agenda, it has to be indivisible, in that you can't just say I'm achieving the economic goals. You've got to achieve this economic, societal, environmental, and governance simultaneously, because that's how the agenda works. I've left a couple of videos there. Just to say, some people like to make it look easy, like, you know, we just really have to have economic policies that keep us, and policies that keep us, environmental policies, obviously, that keep us within environmental ceilings, and then keep us within social protection floors. And obviously we're failing. The problem here, this is the donut economics framework, and this is where you want to be. The reality is we're not there. We're actually somewhere else, in the sense I'd get the donut and I'd actually crumble it all up, and you'd have to pick up all the crumbs and put them back together again, basically, to create this donut. And if you look at the original agenda, it was very clear that, you know, we had this 169 targets, but this is a text analysis done by UNDASA saying, well, each and every goal has targets that are interrelated to each other. And what we need to do is to be able, at household level, company level, at government level, regional level, and global levels, to kind of internalize the spillovers or the linkages between social, economic, and environmental issues. So we can no longer have people making money at the expense of, say, poverty or poor people. We can't have situations where you're using the environment as a resource for free, or as a sink, you know, pollution for free. There has to be appropriate governance and policies that integrate these things. So the real SDG person is somebody who realizes that in every action they do, there are potentially social, economic, environmental, and governance consequences to what you do. And I know some people feel they don't have a lot of agency, but everyone has agency over who they bank with, who they work with, what products they buy, what clothes they wear, and so on. So every single decision you make potentially has an impact. And of course, you might go, well, does it matter if I do it, if no one else is doing it, or it does it, like, say, Africa does it and the rest of the world don't do it? But at the end of the day, there is this, in a moral sense, there's a principle of subsidiarity. So you have a moral responsibility not to harm others and not to harm nature. And all you can do is influence what's in your sphere of influence. You can't second guess other people or your actions. If other people are not doing it, well, I'm not doing it, right? So that's not how it works. So this agenda, so therefore, unfortunately for this agenda, multilateralism really is very, very important. that somehow we come to an agreement across nations and communities that we actually do want to buy into this. Just to talk about the common agenda, it was very unusual. Like normally when you come to the UN or you come to meetings like this, the whole idea is to be positive, to create the future you want, to materialize this. But Guterres back in 21 had to warn leaders of the world that it's going in the wrong directions. And he outlined, which is unusual, 4 dystopian futures or threats. And of course, we had the possibility of zoonotic disease or pandemics. We've seen the biodiversity loss; it's very rapid. We see climate change and global warming surging. So I think we've already broken the 1.5 Celsius promise. So for a long time, we said we have to reduce emissions to stay within 1.5 of pre-industrial levels. But that, as of last week and today, has been broken. We have broken the 1.5 Celsius, but we still have to do what we can to reduce carbon, because obviously we cannot have out of control climate change. It's not something humanity or any other species can cope with. We have to look at inequality in education is getting worse, particularly with the onslaught of AI and digital transformation. Pockets of poverty and famine are happening all over the place. We have problems with geopolitics, clearly. We're not having nuclear disarmament. In some ways, we're escalating on military spending. We seemingly are spending what we can count as something like 20 trillion a year on security and weapons. And we only need 8 trillion to achieve this project. So it sounds very simple, like stop spending on weapons and spend it on sustainable development. And obviously it's not that easy for some reason that we seem to prioritize security over sustainable development. But that's naive, because the more social inequality you have, the more climate change we have, the more insecure our food systems become. Obviously, it leads to more conflicts and more problems. So, but this is the only in terms of how we fix this as a global community or global citizens, is that we do have a plan, and we do have the SDG plan, and then underneath it we have the Paris Agreement, the coming Montreal Biodiversity Framework. So that's SDG 13, SDG 14 and 15, and SDG 7, I think. But one thing that's not in the document is how we actually go about managing refugees and displaced people, internally displaced people, and how we deal with migrants. But in 2016, there is this thing called the New York Declaration, which was negotiated as the first intergovernmental document that has actually a global compact for the migration. In other words, that has the kind of rules and principles of how we should deal with migration and view it. And it also sets up an agency to actually deal with it. But I would say maybe coming into the post-2030 agenda, which will start in the General Assembly in 2027, and it's going to be the body responsible is the HLPF, which is the body for overseeing the SDGs in general. I think we will see migration and refugee. We'll have that incorporated into the agenda, this New York Declaration, and we might have something about nuclear disarmament and security incorporated. But the SDGs will remain to 2050, but it will be adjusted for these and digital transformation, obviously AI, these kind of big issues that we have to deal with and integrate them into this agenda. Just to give some good news, at the midpoint review, again, it was co-facilitated by Ireland and Qatar this time. Even during the geopolitics of everything, all countries of the world did sign up to are recommitted, if you like, to the SDGs and to the Paris Agreement and the biodiversity framework. And that's good news. So academics, civil society, the ambassadors, in general, they want this to work despite what's happening in the Security Council and what's happening with geopolitics, that most people in the world are still hopeful for the SDGs, because people in universities and governments and corporates have changed their governance, have changed their training, and they do want to be more respectful to nature and people in general. So it's good to see this political declaration, which is a recommitment at the midpoint review to achieving the SDGs by 2030, or at least up to 2050. I was happy enough with the statement on education, because it talked about more investment in education, more inclusive and equitable, lifelong learning. So we should deal with early childhood and youth, of course, but we also should, and K-12 and universities, but we should also do a lot of upskilling and reskilling of teachers and of the labor force in general, because new skills are coming in terms of digital and sustainability skills. Things are happening very, very fast. And all of this was summarized in the Transforming Education Summit anyway, and its outcomes. The Pact for the Future last year talked about how do we reform financing, which we'll discuss more in June, to get much more money for sustainable development, particularly to middle to low income countries. Also how to reform peace and security issues, and the General Assembly and security and the Security Council problems, because we do need a functioning UN, because we can't go back. China can't just say we want nothing to do with the rest of the world. America say we want nothing to do with the rest of the world. Africa says it wants nothing to do with the rest of the world, because unfortunately we are interdependent through our oceans and our food systems and climate systems. So at minimum, we have to work together to create a safe environmental commons for each and every one of us. But obviously economics and friendships and education are across borders as well. So we obviously are having a problem at the moment in terms of there's a bit of a bipolar world going on, but we need to fix that to be able to achieve. That's important. So that's in the Pact for the Future. There was also a very interesting for digital cooperations. The first time there's a Digital Global Compact on the governance of digital assets. And we're pushing that digital assets should be public goods, infrastructures, AI should be open license. So we really shouldn't allow the digital transformation create money for a small amount of people, or only have, let's say, digital services and infrastructures that are only accessed by people who have money and so on. We need to make sure that these are publicly run and open digital highways and assets for everyone. And of course, that's in that Global Digital Compact. There was also a declaration of future generations, and then talk about, intergovernmental institutions in general, how the UN would interact with the World Bank or the regional banks and so on. Just to show you a few of the projects, and I'll stop. As I alluded to earlier, I think open education resources are very important, and the freedom to create knowledge, the freedom to use it, repurpose it, to localize it. And this is all in a UNESCO recommendation that all countries of the world signed in 2019. And we actually had an update on that recommendation in Dubai a couple of months ago, which was just looking to see in the Dubai Declaration how emerging technologies like AI could actually potentially enhance the OER recommendation. This was the people involved. I've shown you the recordings of the sessions, and then there's the outcome document called the Dubai Declaration. So this is the whole idea that we should, in theory, even in refugee camps with AI and with technology, everyone should stay in school. But obviously you've got to have the right licensing, the right platforms and public infrastructures, and the right sort of content, and so on and so forth. And so a lot could be done, but it's to point out to people what are the blockages or barriers to this happening. And that's what the Dubai Declaration is really about. Other projects we listed at the Summit of the Future in the Action Days. There was work done on the Capabilities for the Future Hub, which is about coordinating governments across the world on their economic or industrial policies to make global supply chains more inclusive and sustainable. We have position papers and courses now on insurance. We feel that insurance is just not getting into helping the SDG implementation or even getting into the least developed countries in a way, because in my country, Ireland, I mean, I have insurance for everything: car, house, health, pensions, everything, right? And of course, in lots of other countries, most of the world are not covered at all. And if they have a health problem, or they lose their job, or something happens, crash their car, or their house burns down, they actually don't have that's it. They just have to cope with that and move on. But of course, that's why insurance is there, right? So we're a great believer that insurance coverage should be deployed right across the world, basically, and not just in particular high income areas, for example. But that's that project. Okay, so I've given you some handles here so that you can contact the Academy. So I guess the main messages is one, to have a look at the Academy library and make sure you use some of these videos and courses in your kind of training or knowledge creation. Secondly, when it comes to mentoring, obviously you can come back to us in terms of mentors and particular project opportunities if you want to have a look at them. And finally, I guess, you know, the frameworks are there, the policies are there, the countries have signed up to them, the MOIs are there, but there has to be a mindset across communities and governments of the world that they actually are going to achieve these. And of course, a lot of work has to be done to do that. But on the other hand, none of us can just say that we're not going to do anything, because hopefully there'll be a realization and everyone will kick in relatively soon that we have to move towards peace and security more rapidly, deal with climate change, biodiversity loss, and ocean health more rapidly, food systems more rapidly, and you know, the workforce and the citizens of the world have the mindset that they will support this very, very quickly. And of course, that's why this mentoring program and fellowship program is important, because it changes hopefully makes you aware and makes you a believer that this is actually possible. And this is happening in every country of the world, right? So these are important initiatives. Okay, sorry for going on so long, and I appreciate the invitation as always.
All right, thank you so much, sir. And I must say I've been jotting a lot on what you've spoken about. And I love the fact that you're just trying to emphasize on us creating the world that we want. And that is the best thing that we can do for ourselves in every SDG goals is always for us to create that future. That's that thing that we want, that community, that better community that we want for ourselves, to make it a better place, to make ourselves a better citizen of our countries and everywhere we are. Thank you so much, sir, and we really appreciate you. This is wonderful, and it's a pleasure to have you here on this platform, sir. So I'll be taking just 2 questions while I try to check some questions on the YouTube right now, so that we can go fast with this program, because we have used our time, but it was worth it. Yes, the time was fast spent, but it was worth every time that we've spent here, because we have learned a lot from what we have today. So I'll be going through our question right now to see. If you have any question, please drop it right now. Okay, I can see what it says. Please highlight more on open education, especially in terms of support for the vulnerables. So that's the question. Okay, that's the only question I can see there. Okay, I'll try to scroll through, but sir, you can please answer that question, sir.
What was the question? To learn more about open education, is it? Or the open education resources? Was that the question? Yeah.
please highlight more on open education,
Yeah.
especially in terms of support for the vulnerables.
Yeah. So one of the projects, I know this is a bit of it's a difficult project and it's a little bit of dreaming, but we were, in some ways, we were tasked with the idea, particularly with new technologies, like how could everyone have access to education, even those in the furthest behind? And the one thing I realized, and it was from my own life experience, is that libraries can be very important, like particularly public libraries, because you mightn't have money for books and you can go and get books. You mightn't have a quiet household, but you can go to a quiet space. You mightn't be able to get government exam papers and answers, but they're free in the library, right? So I realized that libraries could have a role. And the other thing is I had some experience on what's called digital repositories, or what's called diamond publication. I mean, in other words, how you actually take, let's say, a PDF or a publication, how you can make it open access, how it can be archived in a library and everyone can take it for free and reuse it, right? So we basically got the idea, which IFLA, this is the International Federation of Libraries, and the UN library system, that actually, when you think of public libraries, you literally cover, I would say, 84% of the world in terms of access to a public library. So there's a public library near you somewhere. And the second thing is that those libraries can have what's called DSpace. So they have what's called a digital repository, right? And with that, they can actually get access to open courses. So if you wanted to share courses, you could deposit them in these library repositories and they could be used, right? Now, the other thing is that's the first step. The first step is potentially curriculum with open licensing can be dropped into public libraries everywhere in the world, right? But then when you've kind librarians who go, well, we give you access to the computer. Sometimes they train people to do banking, to do applications, whatever. Maybe you'd like to do a diploma or certificate, right? Maybe you'd like to do some conference calling, right? So suddenly you have this idea of a community that's capable of logging into the cloud. And if universities were willing, which we have a few, then you could start to not just do K-12 teaching, but you potentially can do university kind of courses, etc., online, right? But of course, we can take that even further with AI. And then there's other people with visions who work with Salesforce and others who go, once there's mobile phones and tablets, like why couldn't we have K-12 teaching 24/7? Why can't we have AI teachers? Why can't, why is there really an excuse for anyone to not being able to access knowledge and education, no matter what age they are or where they are, right? Now, that sort of dreaming is taking you very far away from what we learned at the Transforming Education Summit, because when you walked in the gate of the UN in 2022, they had what's called a survey on learning poverty. And they had done a survey across the world asking 12-year-olds, could they read a paragraph and understand the paragraph in their own language? And unfortunately, only 1 in 3, 33% were able to read the paragraph and understand it. So this is called learning, the learning poverty. And I know it was just after COVID, but the problem here is that we really are we still have illiteracy. We still haven't trained people properly in STEM. We still don't have everyone going to primary school and secondary school. So the deficits in education are horrific. And we can never get peace and sustainable development in the world unless we put money into ensuring that every boy and girl go to school and that there's ongoing access to knowledge, up into university and beyond, right? So that's a major challenge. But at the same time, the digital revolution, the digital transformation, if it's deployed properly, can actually take education to the individual, to their tablet, to their phone. And I think we're very close to that world and that we should embrace it. Maybe it's not the same as going to a nice school and, with a uniform and, it's not the same, but it's still better than not going to school. And if you can do it at large scale, I think it's worth exploring, right? So So these sort of ideas are definitely there. And we've tried through our OER project through library infrastructure. So the libraries are what I think is it's a digital, publicly owned highway that gets everywhere in the world, that it's common across all the libraries of the world. So it's not that it's a Google platform or a Chinese platform or something else. So libraries basically exchange their content on the same platform interoperably all across the world. And that's the opportunity to put in content that people can use to educate themselves on STEM and obviously non-STEM issues like caring for people and planet, etc. And then now with these AI tools and learning tools, etc., potentially they can be a bit of a replacement for actual schools and teachers, and potentially they can give pathways to doing degrees and other things, no matter where you're working or who you are, right? So that's if you like the dream, and we're just trying to get governments, they've agreed to have open education resources, but to try and get the tech companies, the universities, the content creators, the licensing, to get everyone to agree that let's try this and see how successful we could be. Yeah. So that's the open education idea.
All right, thank you so much for that insightful response. And I am seeing that we are getting even more insight on education and how it's impact on youth, and especially people in vulnerable communities. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. And it's a pleasure to have you here today. And I'm very sure that a lot of us get a lot of things about SDGs today. So thank you so much. We are glad to have you on this platform, and we are hoping to see more of you. We are ready to connect with you and learn more from you. Thank you so much, and do have a wonderful day, sir. Professor Patrick Paul.
Right. Thank you again for the invitation, and congratulations to all the new fellows embarking on a very nice journey to learn about the SDGs. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. All right. I can see a lot of questions from everyone. I think Mr. Emmanuel Oladoyo will be answering some of our questions now. Mr. Emmanuel, over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Yetunde. I want to give a very great session for each and every one of us. So I just want to respond to some random questions regarding the program, which I couldn't provide further information on. And one of the very first questions which I respond to is, for every presentation, the YouTube link is still very available for you to access, in as much as it's in your email. However, if you check AW YouTube, you might not see it there, but it's unlisted for you to access. So very, very importantly, it's also good you get to rewatch this session and learn over and over again. Like I said, there is no session that I listen to Professor Paul that I don't learn something new. It's just part of me. And I'm still going to listen to this session again, over and over again. And another thing which I want to say is, for every presentation slides too, you're going to have access to that over the Google Drive. And the project team are going to share a link with you later in the course of the week, hopefully next week. They are going to share that. I think I saw a comment from Zainab regarding WhatsApp group for easy communication. Absolutely, you're going to be onboarded on the WhatsApp group, but that will be in the month of April for phase 2. But for phase 1 of the program, it's strictly going to be on YouTube, and you getting to carry out your various assignments and whatever task that is being assigned to you. So keep a tab on your email and ensure that you don't miss out on any information. So the question that people will get to ask is, what is next after this opening ceremony? We are moving finally to the training part, whereby you get to learn on various introductory aspects of SDGs design thinking, and some relatable courses which are going to help your journey in this program. And that's going to be on Thursdays, 5 p.m. West African time. That should be 6 p.m. Central African time, and 7 p.m. East African time. So please try as much as possible to note this and ensure you attend each and every classes. For each and every week, there are activities which you are to carry out and submit before the end of the week. I think I've made clarification. Okay, I can see Zona asking regarding the fiscal meet and greet. So that's going to be in the month of September, phase 3 of the program specifically. And it's basically for you to connect with your core team members. So everything or every part of this program is not just virtual. So you have to have you might get to meet in two or as a group, depending on the number of people in your own community or in your own respective location or country. So that's what the fiscal meet and greet is. And if I thought there's nobody in your country, you get to have a virtual meet and greet, but definitely there are other people in your country or community that you can connect with. Another thing which is very important is, I didn't mention it, you're also going to be enrolling on some courses on SDG Academy, which has been listed. So these are short courses, which definitely, like Prof said the other time, there you get certified for each of those courses once you've completed it. And I'm mostly concerned about the knowledge part. You get to learn and learn over and over. So I just want to be very sure that there is no question regarding the internal part of the program that is missing out. However, like I said, we are to be grouped or we are to select our preferred groups. So Elvis, based on that question, you are going to be selecting your own preferred group based on your solution, based on what your solution is. And like I said, if at all you are working on it, let's assume you are working on a tech innovation on agri-food systems, your main primary SDG definitely will be SDG 2, zero hunger. So not industry innovation and infrastructure, not SDG 9 now. So, or not, I just want to link it to different, and definitely you have the primary SDGs, you have the secondary SDGs, but don't worry, when we get to that phase, the program coordinators will clarify and provide detailed information about that. And okay, I can see Linda asking a question, how long the session is going to be on a weekly basis. So it's going to be a 90-minute session on in each and every week. So it's going to be for 90 minutes specifically. So you just have to, it's something that you're going to enjoy. It's something you're going to enjoy and try as much. That's why we are having it at the evening part of each Thursdays. And I think that's all the questions. And definitely, what if I'm working on both climate and agriculture? Well, DG, absolutely. Like I said, there will definitely be a primary part. I mean, you definitely have your primary goal of interest. And based on what your proposal is, you're going to be guided when you get to that phase. I want to wish each and every one of you the very best. And please try as much as possible to make good of this opportunity and connect and learn from each other. It's going to be a very transformative and unforgettable experience for each and everyone. Once again, congratulations and welcome on board. Over to you, Yetunde.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you so much. And I want to use this medium to congratulate every one of you once again. Congratulations and for your onboarding section to this program. And I want you to be open-minded so that you can learn more and assimilate all the things that you'll be learning from this platform. You're going to enjoy the program. Yes, it might be challenging, but I don't think there's anything that is good that won't look challenging. So please try as much as possible to take make good use of this opportunity, learn, connect, and be at your best. So congratulations once again, and do have a wonderful day. And before we go, please try as much as possible to follow ADF Africa on our social media, on our Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social media handles, so that you can get more information on our programs and ADF Africa. So this would be the end of this section. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you so much. I hope we have all learned. And please, let's go back to the document that was shared with us so that we can get through the necessary information for us to go through and see through the guidelines for the program. Thank you very much, everyone, and do have a wonderful evening or morning everywhere you are. Bye.
We can be.
We must be the first generation
to end extreme poverty.
The generation
Most determined
to fight injustice
and inequalities.
The generation that saves the planet from climate change.
And this is how it will get done. The global goals.
A 15-year plan
For everyone, everywhere.
With no one left behind.
We will live in a world
Where nobody
Anywhere lives in extreme poverty.
Where no one
Goes hungry.
Where no one
wakes in the morning
asking if there will be food today. We will live in a world where no child has to die of
Diseases we know how to cure.
and where proper health care
is a lifelong right for us all.
We will live in a world where
everyone
goes to school.
and education gives us the knowledge
and skills
for a fulfilling life.
We will live in a world where all girls and all women have equal opportunities to thrive and be powerful and safe.
We cannot succeed if half the world is headed back.
we will live in a world
Where all people can get clean water.
And proper toilets
At home,
At school,
and at work.
we will live in a world where there is sustainable energy for everyone.
Heat, light.
and power for the whole planet.
Without destroying the planet.
We will live in a world where economies prosper.
and new wealth.
leads to decent jobs
For everyone.
And we will live in a world where our industry,
our infrastructure and our
Best innovations.
Are not just used to make money, but to make all our lives better.
We will live